Welcome to episode 13 of The Rational Homer. I am your host, Kyle, and as June comes to an end, July is going to start out hot, at least in Iowa. Andy Dodd joins us to talk about the results of the NBA draft for the Iowa colleges, the few jabs at Jordan Spieth, and some recent news ongoing to former NFL running back. The Cubs, coming off a weekend series with the Brewers, as they continue to close the gap on the NL Central Division lead, as teams will play every day except one leading up until the All-Star break, which takes place usually the second week in July. Welcome back, Andrew. Today we're going to discuss with you the Travelers PGA Championship, as there was a playoff this morning between Scotty Scheffler and Victor Hovland. What did you think of the final hole or holes of that tournament?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of drama there because they had a weather delay yesterday. So they finished up tied, but it was too dark to do the playoff hole. And then come out this morning, everyone's excited for dramatic playoff finish. And they both hit great approach shots, both have makeable birdie putts. Hovland makes his, and then Scotty with just a very unexpected miss. And just like that, playoff was over before it felt like it had hardly started. So yeah, I mean, obviously wanted to see more than just one hole, but it kind of just shows you how goes.
Yeah, I mean, they finished tied at 21 under, which is pretty incredible. There was rumors that Scheffler was trying to get Hovland to hurry up a little bit on Sunday. I don't know if that was whether to try to finish before the weather affected into the night, so that they had to play in the morning, or whether he just thought Hovland was playing slow overall on the green specifically. So that was kind of an interesting thing. I'm kind of glad Hovland won just for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, I like Hovland, so it didn't bug me that he won, but like, I guess I didn't read into that story. Like, why would Hovland want to be delaying it till the morning? I don't understand what advantage that would give him.
Well, I saw that there was one hole that Scheffler was already on the next green, and wasn't even finished putting yet. So kind of a
Speed it up.
yeah, kind of a message to speed it up without directly telling him to speed it up. But I just thought that was kind of interesting. And with
I mean, I
21 under,
certainly would get
good.
frustrated by slow golf. So I can kind of see where Scotty's coming from. But then at the end of the day, I feel like unless the tour is like bringing one of their guys out to give them like a slow play warning, what are you going to do?
Well, yeah, and it was the final two people in the final grouping of the day too. Like, unless somebody comes out, like, what's the super big deal there? They were both in a very competitive environment there at the end, being tied at 21 under after the final hole, and it's just very interesting comment or speculation by reporters, whichever reports those were. Some other very interesting things was 21 under was, the winning score, and then we got Jordan Spieth shot even for the tournament. Finished bottom 10, was it?
I guess I didn't even realize he played, but must have just been kind of a bad week for him. Nothing to talk about there.
He tried the new putter, didn't he?
He practiced with multiple new ones and then he didn't use it.
Oh, that's good.
So
That's good.
some might say the guy's an idiot. That might be for another bonus episode.
Hmm. Well, he did make $39,000 regardless, just for playing 4 rounds over 4 days, so he
Probably
can take
covered
that.
his private flight there.
Probably so, probably so. Especially if he was playing on another sponsorship, that helps too.
Did you see that he committed literally over the weekend to play in the John Deere Classic this weekend, right near our homes in the Quad Cities?
We did. Are you going to go down to that now then?
I have July 4th obligations with the family. Otherwise,
Oh, that's right.
the last time he played in it, or no, maybe 2 times ago. It was the first time he had played in like 10 years. I went and followed him for an entire round just to watch him have to like make a couple late birdies to even make the cut. But yeah, so I'm kind of sad that I'm not going to be able to go this year because I think he's
Hmm.
going to win it.
Well, yeah, especially if it's in contention on Sunday, you're going to be glued to the TV and wishing you were there in person.
Yeah, it's like people will be like, "Why are you not out on the boat on the lake with me or with us?" And I'll be like, "Just priorities, you know."
Yeah, and it might be the final time potentially the John Deere Classic is in the Quad Cities is
Right.
with the new tour starting next year that talking about moving into Chicago. So
I hope they don't, but yeah, maybe I need to change some plans. Just just in case Spieth wins the final John Deere Open in what, Silvis, Illinois.
Yeah, so we will see what happens there. I would assume Zach Johnson usually plays in that as well.
He does, although he's been doing a lot of the senior tour this year because he finally qualified age wise. So part of me wonders if he's going to go. I haven't looked it up, I guess.
Yeah, I would assume, I don't know, I guess I would, being from Cedar Rapids, I just assume he would do a tournament that
Right.
close to home, but you never know. So we'll see what happens there. Moving over to the NBA, Sturts did get drafted 16th overall to the Grizzlies and traded to the Thunder. Oh, he'll play for Flop City behind Shea Alexander, Gilchrist Alexander. Good spot for him. Not sure how much playing time he will get, but hopefully he gets a little bit of playing time. In addition to that, OKC also has a former Iowa player, Josh Ditz, joining their team as an unroster invitee, it appears, according to the data. What are your thoughts on these two players joining OKC Indy?
Well, a little bit of insult there with Flop City, but I mean, I guess you're not technically wrong. But I think Sturt's best case scenario for in terms of getting a mentor from the league MVP in Shea, and hopefully he gets decent playing time, maybe as like Shea's backup. I guess we'll see. Either way, really happy to see him get drafted that high in the first round. And like you said, Josh Dix getting a chance there. We'll see if he can find a role in the NBA. Certainly liked him as a Hawk. Didn't really watch him when he went to Creighton, but good shooter. Just would have to find probably a little bit more scoring and defense to have a legit shot. And don't forget, Peyton Samford is currently part of the Thunder. So yeah, we got some serious Iowa connections going right now.
That is true. That is true. I forgot about Stanford. Another great Iowa three-point shooter. Moving over to the better team in the state, Iowa State had Joshua Jefferson, drafted by the New Brooklyn Nets, 28th overall. I believe he was technically drafted by Minnesota Timberwolves to Brooklyn via trade. I'm pretty surprised by that. I thought he'd maybe be early second rounder, but or maybe even stay in Minnesota with the fact that they cut or traded Joseph Randall, and they kind of use a ball handler at power forward. So that was kind of interesting. But Jefferson should get decent playing time as the Nets cleared out their front court a little bit, trading Nicholas Claxton to the Chicago Bulls. So I'll be excited for him. He should get plenty of playing time opportunity in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when he went late first round because we had talked about that'd be a bit of a shocker, but good for him. Like you said, the Nets are certainly a rebuilding team, so you'd think he's going to get a legit shot. But didn't Julius Randle go to Brooklyn as well?
He might have. That's a good point in that trade. I guess he could have.
But I mean, they're kind of similar players in a way, but I don't think that's going to hurt Jefferson's chance at just like getting a lot of playing time.
Yeah, and I think Jefferson is probably a little bit of a better ball handler based on what we saw from Randall in the playoffs, but, I could be wrong on that. And I think Jefferson could run more point forward if needed.
For sure.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shapes out in Brooklyn and just how they handle everything over there. In other Iowa State news, Taman Lipsey signed undrafted to the Indiana Pacers, joining fellow Iowa State point guards Tyrese Halliburton and Monte Morris, and another former Iowa State player played there for a long time, and Jamal Tinsley once upon a time. So hopefully Lipsey gets a fair shot at making the team out of training camp. I'd love to see him make it out of training camp, but we talked about it last week. His size was just such an issue, and his shooting really isn't that great. So it's just going to be very, very hard, very tough road for him to have, it would seem.
Yeah, but I mean, like you said, he's getting a shot. We've talked about what he would need to improve on to be a legit NBA player. It is cool though that he's at least going to be in the organization with Halliburton for however long it lasts, and you never know. I feel like Indiana currently their recent success has been a little bit like backed on their toughness and defense. So he kind of fits what their organization was doing when they had success before Halliburton got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, they always had, decent point guards, it seemed. Even when they didn't have Halliburton, they had TJ McConnell and couple other players. Nemhard kind of played point guard a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see if Lipsy can make it out of training camp there with them. Still my favorite Cyclone, even more than Tyrese, because Tyrese didn't stay 4 years. But it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. I always kind of like the Pacers, as looks like the Bears might be moving into Indiana from the NFL to Indiana, so that would be another interesting turn.
Let's hope not. But honestly, yeah, it's progressing that way. That's for sure.
So it'll be interesting how that turns out. And then moving over to the NFL as well from the Bears segment today, Chris Johnson got announced with ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, which is really kind of heartbreaking to see as he was a player that rushed for over 2,000 yards multiple times, known as CJ2K. And it seems like it's progressed pretty quickly as he's only 39, 40. What are your thoughts on that, Andrew?
Yeah, just another scenario where someone battles a terrible disease and, like you said, way too young, only 39. And that interview that he did where he clearly is having a lot of trouble already, just he said he like couldn't even hold like a cup, or something as basic
Yeah,
as
I
that. So
can't even pick up his kids
just, yeah,
anymore. It's
right.
sad.
Just terrible news. And you never want to have to hear that or see someone go through it. But like he advocated for, need more and more consistently more research
Yeah,
to
he
just
joined it.
figure
He
these things
joined it.
out.
Yeah, it sounds like he's in a clinical trial, but we're never really sure how those work out. And I do want to read a quote he had at the end of the ESPN article. It said he wants people to know he's still him. ALS has changed what my body can do, but it hasn't changed who I am. People sometimes look at the disability, the physical disability, and assume you're still not the same person inside. I still think the same. I still dream. I still love my family. My body just doesn't cooperate. And I thought that was a really well worded quote by him and very true to what, physical disabilities are.
Just like you said, I don't think you could really articulate that any better. And I hope that people read that and just have another good reminder that whether it takes a former NFL player, celebrity to say that, it's just true across the board.
Yes, yeah. And that will probably wrap it up on our segment with Andrew, as he'll be back next week, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about the John Deere Classic. And this was, Fourth of July, and he's a little too,
Right.
recovering a bit too much in order to do a podcast, but we will see about that.
Well, I was going to say, before we sign off, let's hope you have a great 250th anniversary of the United States of America, July 4th weekend. I hope you're dialed. Well, I know you're dialed into the USA World Cup team to show your patriotism. So happy 250th and go USA.
Yes, and it's going to be a hot one this week for sure. Going to be a
Very
hot one.
stay
Okay.
cool out there.
Yeah, stay hydrated, stay hydrated. Cubs coming out of the weekend series against the Brewers, which they took 2 of 3 and put them 5.5 back in the division. And that's really been the Cubs' Achilles heel this year, and just not being able to beat the Brewers. Also their issue last year. That was the first win over the Brewers in, first 2 wins over the Brewers in 6 tries. So they're 2-4 against the Brewers this year. I don't even know the like much what they were against them last year. But in order for the Cubs to win the division, they have to beat the Brewers. That's basically the bottom line here in order to catch the Brewers. Pitching still definitely an issue as they have injuries all over the place. 3 of their 5 starters are now on the disabled list. 4 of their top bullpen people are on the disabled list again. Utility Matt Shaw is on the disabled list again. It's not an ideal situation for the Cubs as they continue to be plagued by injuries, but they're only 5.5 out. St. Louis is 7.5 out. Pete Krill Armstrong continues to hit and has been really solid out of the leadoff spot. The rest of the team is doing okay. Swanson had a hot series against the Mets last week. They recorded 15 RBIs, which is pretty impressive. And Ian Happ still hits the occasional home run here and there. We will see how that pans out as we wait towards the All-Star break here. And I think the Cubs, they legitimately want to have a chance, or at least where they make moves at the trade deadline. At the end of July, they need to be within, I'd say, 3.5 games. 5.5 isn't terrible, you can make that up, but when we have struggled against the Brewers like we have, I think we need to be within 3.5. Yeah, the Brewers are a really solid team. They got Jacob Mizorowski, who can throw 105. You got solid offense with Christian Yelich, William Contreras, Bryce Trang, Jackson Churio, solid back end of the bullpen. You're starting to see St. Louis fade a little bit, which it kind of surprised they hung around as long as they did, because they're a very young team. And the Reds are fading, and the Pirates are still above 500, but they're 9.5 back. I'm looking around the rest of the divisions in baseball. Tampa Bay is a game and a half up on the Yankees as they've won 5 in a row, and the Yankees have lost 5 in a row. And so that kind of just shows how quickly things can change in a week for some teams. I think the Yankees should be fine, and they're missing Stanton and Judge right now due to injury, and Max Fried, their ace. So hopefully they get those guys back fairly soon, and they'll be doing well. And the Rays are just a low-budget team that has a lot of scrappy players, and they're doing well. And the White Sox are still in first in their division over the Cleveland Guardians by a game. And they should be getting Mirataka Miratali back this week. I believe Tuesday on the 30th he's expected to return. So that's exciting as they kind of managed to hold ship without him. But he was really just being an offensive powerhouse and leading in home runs for rookies. And moving over to the West, the Rangers and Mariners are within a game of each other. Rangers have won 5 in a row. But looking at the American League, the most interesting thing is the Yankees have a run differential of 97, and next closest is Tampa Bay at 24, and the White Sox at 24. And run differential can be skewed a little bit because of, if you have a blowout game where you get blown out and you throw in a position player to finish up an inning or two just to save your bullpen a bit, now that can amount to a lot of increased runs. But it's always something to look at and kind of tells you how things are going. And then looking at the National League quickly, the Phillies continue their climb from the bottom of the NL East. They're only 3.5 behind the Braves. The Braves are 16 games above 500. Then in the West, the Dodgers have pretty much their run differential is 157. And they're 11 games up on the Padres. Like 3 to 4 weeks ago, it was only 1.5. So I think safe to say the Dodgers are, even with the injuries they've had, they're trying to turn it on. I think they'll pretty much wrap up that division probably by the beginning of August, if I had to guess. And granted, it can change within a week and they will have to play each other a little bit more, but the Dodgers are just such a solid team. It's going to be tough to do that. That pretty much does it for baseball. Next week we will talk about probably baseball again. Not sure if Andy will bring anything to the discussion. Have any topics he wants to talk about? I think Spieth is pretty much going to be a no-go for the foreseeable future as he no longer seems to be competitive at all. I really talked about the Cubs again. I'm sure we'll find something to talk about. Yeah, just tune back in next week and we'll have another podcast with Andy. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a special guest. And remember, if you have any questions or comments or suggestions for sports-related content you'd like me to react to, send an email to rationalhomer@gmail.com.